the season premiere of South Park is happening, and they're going to cover white nationalists with tiki torches marching around with rebel flags and yada yada yada, which would make them actually some of the only entertainment media to be covering that. However, if you watch the very important documentaries episode I called Horseshoe Theory, you know that I don't really regard them as much more than, like, really ultra-centrist. Like, they are the definition of centrism, in my opinion.
For those of you that are unaware, Peter Coffin is the guy that had a little fishhook theory thing that he posted on Twitter, and I quote tweeted it and made the joke, those radical centrists, walking around, rioting, burning shit, beating up people of dissent. Wait a minute. That doesn't quite make sense. That's because Peter Coffin views centrists as people that essentially, even though they call out both sides repetitively, they seem to think that people that are centrists are, Nazi sympathizers. As pretty much anybody in the SJW sphere does, but let's hear him out, see what he has to say, and see if he can further make an idiot of himself. Well, I don't know if he really can go any farther, but we'll see.
Will do everything that they possibly can to extrapolate some kind of false equivalency from two sides of any issue that may or may not be valid.
This is another thing that him and a number of people that are on the left that support Antifa, like, try to say, oh, you're just drawing a false equivalence between Antifa and the alt-left and the alt-right. No, it is not a false equivalence. They're both based off of identity politics, and both are violent. There is no false equivalence there. When two things appear similar, despite all of their other despite what their names say, if they appear similar and act similar, they are similar. There is no false equivalence there. It's not a false equivalence. It is an actual equivalence that exists, that is viewable, and has been proven to happen, especially on Antifa's case, multiple times. Now, that being said, when I said in Antifa's case, the alt-right has been active for not as long. So give them time. I'm sure they'll pump the numbers up.
White people renovating houses. Now, you know what? The title, in all honesty, sounds promising. That is something that I think isn't really being addressed.
Now, to be fair, in his defense, he might be talking about another issue that is brought up by the SJWs and the left that I am unaware of and never heard of, because, quite frankly, if I even start hearing about how somebody is, renovating their house and that's an issue, I immediately can turn that person off. Not because I don't think what they have, what they have to say is unimportant, because what another person does with their house is none of your goddamn business, but I just don't understand how this is an issue, but I'm sure he's going to explain it here relatively quickly and with a lot of white guilt. So let's see if he does it.
It's actually something I kind of wanted to address in a very important documentary before everything went batshit. Last year, when I came up with the series, I wrote down a lot of topics, and one of the things that I want to address is the idea of overpopulation through the lens of tiny houses, reno shows, and all of that stuff.
I don't understand, nor do I believe that tiny houses and renovations and shows about them have anything to do with the issue of overpopulation, which, quite frankly, I can agree with you on that. Overpopulation is an issue, but here's the thing, it's not a race issue. It's just simply an issue of not enough people are dying and too many people are having too many fucking kids. It's not, people working on their houses and fixing up their houses, it's causing an overpopulation in the world. I'm assuming that's what the correlation you're trying to draw here is, but you said through the eyes of, renovation shows and tiny houses and whatnot. So I'll give you a little leeway and say that maybe, just maybe, that's not the point that you're trying to make. But it sounds an awful lot like that's what you're trying to say. And quite frankly, I don't see how this ties into how only specifically white people renovating their houses is an issue. But I suppose I should, give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that you're getting there at some point.
That's something that I've really wanted to talk about because I really like watching house reno shows. Like, I don't want to reno a house. I don't care about the industry surrounding it. I don't really want anything to do with any of that stuff. But it's tremendously entertaining to me. And the thing that is most noticeable when you turn HGTV on and you see one of these shows is that it's only white people renovating houses. And I'll tell you why.
For somebody that claims to not care about renovation and all that other happy horse shit that you said, you seem to have an awfully strong feelings about people that renovate their houses and shows that revolve around that. And here's another thing, you fucking racist. Not only white people renovate their fucking houses. Everybody of all skin colors, of all walks of life, renovate their houses. Alright? And you pointing out the white people that are doing it is, well, quite frankly, for lack of a better term, is racist. It has nothing to do with their skin color. They just happen to have a little extra money, or I don't know, they went down to the bank and got a fucking loan, and we're like, alright, I want to renovate our house so it's worth more money and has more equity in case I have to sell it later. Now, in regards to the whole turning on HGTV and the thing that you notice is that they're all white, only you people like you notice shit like that. Only people like you care about freaking skin color. When I watch reno shows, because I unfortunately am forced to do so sometimes, I watch the show and I find it mildly entertaining. I don't find it very entertaining, but it's like, oh, cool, they, spent $40,000 and that's what the house looks like now. I'm not even remotely concerned with their skin color. Hell, I wouldn't even be remotely concerned with their sexuality. But you and people like you focus on race because it's a very easy thing to springboard off of, to draw conclusions about groups of people without any basis in fact. Anyway, moving on.
In an economic system that has favored a specific demographic over all other demographics for as long as this one has.
You do realize that on average, Asians make more than the white males do, right? That Asians make more Asian, a race other than white. There's a pinhole in your argument. Another pinhole in your argument, quite frankly, and rather easily, is that capitalism doesn't care what the color of your fucking skin is, and nor do most people in the rest of the world. Most people don't even remotely care or bother with race because it's an arbitrary thing that holds no value to a person's, merit as an individual. But you don't like that idea. You'd rather focus everything about race and white people are evil and the system props up white people. And the system props up only white people. Then why do we have a president that was black? Why are there neurosurgeons that are black? Ben Carson, for example. Why are there business owners that are black? All of these are reasons to point out and understand that what you're saying is utter fucking bullshit. But I'm sure you're going to continue the bullshit train with your next fucking statement. Moving on.
White people have the capital to do this shit. And they don't want to follow around somebody that they have to fund to do the house renovation. They want to follow around somebody who renovates houses on a daily basis and they can pay for the right to show it on a TV show. Application of a format and editing and so on and so forth. Now, it's interesting to me that they would frame an episode about white nationalism through the lens of white people renovating houses, because to me, these are actually intrinsically linked ideas. If you look at the fact that capital is specifically in the hands of white people, they are the specific ones that are generally able to do these shows.
Yes. Here is the pinnacle of actual racism. Oh, whites are the only ones with capital to do this shit. No. There are black people out there with capital to do this too. There are Mexicans out there, or Latinos rather, or Hispanics, whichever one you prefer to fucking call them, with capital to do this too. Not only white people have money, you dumb fucking cunt. And on top of that, yeah, it makes sense that they're not like, oh, they're not going to just pick people at random just to have diversity of skin color on a fucking show, because that show's got to make money, you stupid fucking twit. They can't just be throwing money at people and be like, here, renovate a house. Yeah, these people know how to renovate a house? Yeah. I tell you what, I work in the construction field, And you're not going to hire somebody to, I don't know, do a foundation that doesn't know how to work with fucking concrete. Why does this need to be explained to you? Were you dropped on your head as a fucking child? Either that or I think you left your fucking floaties at home, Lenny. Anyway, moving on.
They're the stars, they fund the renovations, they make the profits. And although you may see them employ people of color, that's exactly it. They're people of color who operate as contractors doing work for the white people renovating the houses.
Now, in regards to South Park using, white people renovating houses as a reason, as a means to pick on the alt-right, I hope that they do it in a far more nonchalant manner than to simply come out like you are and say that white people are the only ones that can do this because they are the ones with all the money. I have faith in South Park that they tend to be a lot smarter than that and a lot more capable of coming up with cutting satire that's actually funny and not complete and utter racist bullshit. But, like I said before, we can't expect you to think anything or to think differently than and outside of your bubble of groupthink, as I've said before in other videos. But what needs to be said, what needs to be pointed out, the fact that you seem to think that white people are the only one with capital that are able to do these shows. There are plenty of shows out there that are, have stars in them that are black, that have black directors, or any other color for that matter. You just want to focus on the white ones because it fits your narrative. But I suppose if I had the ability to do mental gymnastics like you do, I could find a way to turn and twist everything to fit my narrative as well. Anyway, moving on.
Well, what do centrists say about anti-fascist action? They equate property damage to violence, and then that basically says that anti-fascist action is violent and evil and therefore the same thing as Nazis. And whether or not South Park takes any of these routes, I don't know exactly what they're going to say.
I just want to clarify so there's context here. I cut a large section out of the video where he tries to run through what his view of what the South Park episode is going to be about, involving the houses and white supremacy and all this other shit. I thought it was stupid, and that was just really about it. And since I really didn't have any cutting, comedy on it or thought of, higher levels, I just cut it out completely. I just wanted to make sure that was pointed out, and that's what he's talking about when he's like, well, what are they going to do? Well, we know that South Park are centrists. And, well, to start with, Trey Parker and Matt Stone have both come out to be and telling the world quite often on a regular basis that they tend to lean more libertarian, which, by the way, is not a centrist position. But moving on from that and getting out of the realm of quote-unquote centrists are just as bad as everybody else because, well, quite frankly, they're not. Well, quite frankly, I don't think people on the right and people on the left and people in the center are really that bad of people. They just have different political opinions. It's when you go far left or far right, we start having an issue and start disagreeing on shit. But the thing that I find funny is Peter Coffin is in the same group of people that will jump down your throat about how words are violence. But in Peter Coffin's eyes, apparently burning somebody's car is not an act of violence. But aside from that hypocrisy and aside from the hilarity there, Peter Coffin, newsflash, I hate to burst your bubble, but they beat fucking people. That is literally violence by definition. They are beating people of a dissenting opinion. They are violent. They're not fucking angels. And stop trying to defend them, you stupid fucking cunt. They don't need defending. They don't deserve defending. Antifa and the alt-right are two sides of the same coin that deserve to be tossed on an island and left to fight to the death. Simply put, that's the reality of the situation. But I don't think it should be enacted. I just think it's a funny fucking scenario. Anyway, I really do hope that South Park, Trey Parker, and Matt Stone and the whole team do not do anything even remotely like what fucking Peter Coffin would want to have them do, which we all know that they won't. Anyway, moving on.
And people who I tend to share the same views about free speech are attempting to set this up as the South Park people getting ready to mount a stupid free speech argument. I don't see them talking about that, and the reason I don't see them talking about that is because I think that their own views in that they're confused at the moment. If you ask me, I watch South Park, even though at this point in time I don't necessarily think it's good or great, or I think that there are strokes of brilliance on the show, and I also think that there is just horrifically bad shit on the show.
I really do hope that they take on the Free Speech Act side of it, because I know that you, especially in the way that you said, dumb free speech argument. The mere irony of the fact that you live inside of a country that allows you to have the freedom to say such an idiotic sentence is not lost upon me. However, the side of this that I find funny is I can agree with him in the sense that the last season, I didn't think really was that funny. But when you delve into it, it really doesn't take that strong of a mind to understand that aside from the way that they started becoming episodic, which was a breakdown from what they used to be, where it was an episode was usually centered around a certain idea, or maybe that idea got 2 or 3 episodes, but overall there was never like a serialization to it. Like, each individual episode was each own individual episode. Now, aside from that, and another thing that I think caused season 20 to be such a down for them was because I think that they rode a lot of what they were planning on doing on Hillary Clinton winning the 2016 election, which she didn't. So, there's another thing that punched a huge hole in their logic. But the reality of the situation is I just find it funny that you're surprised that that there's horrific shit on South Park. That's the point of South Park. They use comedy to be as crude as they possibly can to get laughs. Because, hey, sometimes racist jokes are funny. Sometimes sexist jokes are funny. Hell, I laugh at jokes about even my own fucking ethnicity, and I don't get butthurt because, well, quite frankly, I don't have thin skin. And hey, if a joke's funny, I'm gonna laugh at it. But anyway, moving on. Oh, before we move on though, I do want to add that I did cut another section of the video out just for context, so just wanted to let you know. Anyway, moving on.
A centrism barometer. It's such a microcosm of centrism and what centrists think and how they're going to structure their arguments. Because don't tell me that your Eric Garners and your Dave Rubins alike don't watch South Park. Those people do watch South Park, and they do structure arguments around South Park.
I can't speak for Eric Garner, but I can speak for Dave Rubin on his behalf. Dave Rubin has a lot of opinions I disagree with. However, I wouldn't consider him a centrist. In fact, I consider him a liberal. A very classical sense of liberal. But he's not a centrist, and I've never heard him frame an argument based off of South Park. He frames his arguments off of his own beliefs and what he's experienced in his life, much like everybody else does. When you talk about centrism like it's some kind of groupthink, there are centrists on both sides of the political spectrum. You could walk into a centrist that would agree with you on everything except maybe abortion, and that is the only thing that they cut their ties with. And then you can run into a centrist that the only thing that they disagree with other centrists on is freedom of fucking, or not freedom, but excuse me, is the separation of church and state. They believe that it's not separated enough. Those people, centrists, because I don't consider myself centrist, I'm very well aware of the fact that I am right-leaning animal libertarian, but the fact of the matter is that centrists are not bad people. And they're not wrong when they say that there's bad on both the left and the right, because there is. And you can pick and choose ideas from the left and the right and form your own opinions. Hell, you're supposed to. You're not supposed to adhere to one side simply based off of groupthink. It's all about the individual and individuality and basing your own opinions off of your experiences, your personal beliefs, what you want, not what you think you should want. Anyway, Moving on, I'm sure he's going to spew more shit about how centrists are supposedly just like fucking Hitler. And I'm aware that he didn't say that. I was making a joke. Moving on.
Not necessarily those two individuals exactly, although I wouldn't be surprised, but liberalism and centrism have used South Park. Even if it's co-option, they've used it before to make points. And the reason is because they effectively both sides every argument, and that's exactly the problem. We can't continue to do that. There has to be something that is right and something that is wrong. And if we want to pretend that there is nothing that is like that, that both sides are always wrong, but there's always redeeming points to both sides, then we have to say that there's something redeeming about the Nazis, and there isn't. Where does that leave South Park?
I can't believe you. Do you listen to the words that you are saying? Are you hearing the words that you are saying? Are you putting thought into what you're saying? No, there is no such thing as right or wrong when it comes to political beliefs. Yes, there are things that are abhorrent and that are disgusting. Nazis, for example. Neo-Nazis, by the way, because the Nazi Party doesn't actually exist, but neo-Nazis, we'll say for the sake of argument. They are abhorrent, but so is Antifa. There are bad people on both sides. There are wrong parts on both sides. But the thing is, what is right and what is wrong is subjective to people. The thing is you. I'll make an example here. It's the easiest way to explain what I'm trying to say. If you go to one person and ask them about abortion, they're gonna say, "Oh, it's just like murder, and it shouldn't be done." And you go to another person and they're gonna say, "Oh, well, I say up till about 12 weeks, and then the government shouldn't pay for it." And then you go to another person, and they say you should be funded by the government, and you should be able to do it at any time during your pregnancy. See, none of those ideas are in and of themselves bad ideas, and by bad I mean morally bad. Now the thing about that is that what he's doing is he's making it so that you are the listener in his situation is put in a situation where they're guilted into choosing liberalism and far left ideology just for the moral grandstand that it is the quote-unquote right way to think. Now, where does that leave South Park? Where South Park has always been. Where they have always been and always will be. They're not right-wing, they're not left-wing, and hell, they pick on both sides, and that's what fucking makes them funny. Deal with it. And another thing, centrism is never going to go away. You're always going to have people that find evil on both sides. And stop telling people that they need to stop doing that. Really, really, stop that shit. People don't need to stop having cognitive dissonance and self-awareness and the ability to understand when their political beliefs are being hypocritical or being fucking idiotic. Fuck yourself. Moving on.
I don't know. I don't think this is a time that they ever thought they would have to deal with. I think they've thought that they could just straddle this line for decades and decades and they'd be fine. They'd just get to do what they want, and when they finally got sick of it, they could just stop. But I think they accidentally helped cause a lot of the shit that goes on in the world today by making it acceptable to people not to actually have a stance. And that's where we are. Not having a stance on Nazis, for instance, is just brazenly irresponsible.
That has always been acceptable, you unbelievable fucking fuckstick. And no, they did not think that they were going to be in this situation because they didn't think that the left was going to turn into the shitstorm that it actually absolutely fucking turned into. Back when South Park was created, a lot of the SJW shit, a lot of liberalism in general wasn't anywhere near as fanatical or frothing as in the mouth as it is now. And much in regard, there wasn't the same amount of identity politics now as there was back then. Now, you see, in regards to neo-Nazis and Nazis in general, and the white supremacists and the KKK and all those other fucking happy horse shit, even Donald Trump has a stand on them. Quite simple, he doesn't like them any more than he likes Antifa. Nobody likes either side, you fucking moron. And being a centrist doesn't mean that I'm giving Nazis a free pass, and it doesn't mean that I'm saying that Antifa and excuse me, not Antifa. That I'm saying that these Nazis aren't as bad as Antifa and aren't as violent. They're both equally violent. They're both equally wrong, and they are both equally against freedoms that you and I share on a regular fucking basis. aka the ability for you to say the stupid shit that you're spewing right now. That is a basic fundamental idea. And I really hate, actually no, I don't really hate, I absolutely love when I get a chance to lambast morons like you who stand on your moral high horse. Here's a little piece of advice for you. When you take your first step off of that high horse, it's going to be a long fall to the ground. And it's going to hurt when you hit the bottom and you come to the realization that you are fundamentally incorrect and wrong. And it doesn't take a whole lot of mind stretching to come to that conclusion. South Park had nothing to do with the situation that we are in. They didn't foster the centrism. Radical assholes like you did. Because people got sick and tired of radicals telling them what they can and can't do. On both sides. On fucking both sides. Alright? Moving on.
Regardless of what they do on the episode that airs tomorrow, if they did the most progressive possible thing, if they went full-blown leftist socialist, it wouldn't matter. People would be angry about it because that's what people do now. But that's not really something to hate or satirize or poke fun at. There's a reason to be angry at everything. Everything is fucked. And stuff that doesn't seem fucked to you might be fucked to somebody else because of how it affects them. Things are different for different people. And that may not be something that everybody loves to say or talk about or think, but it's true.
For context, I cut out another part of the video where he was fucking rambling again and I absolutely lost my shit. But moving on to what this section here and what he has to say. Right here would be a good moment for you to have a little bit of self-awareness. Things are different for different people. Stop lumping all white people together. Stop lumping all black people together. Stop lumping all centrists together. But you can't help but do that. You don't have even the self-awareness to realize as you are saying those words, you're being hypocritical and essentially insulting the arguments that you just made not a few minutes ago. Now, the reality of the situation is that what South Park is simply a show. It's funny. And yeah, it is funny to poke fun at socialism because socialism never fucking works. Venezuela is a perfect fucking example. Don't give me that, oh, it's not the right socialism bullshit. It is. Get the fuck over it. It doesn't work. It's never worked. And progressivism and liberalism, yes, these are all things that should be satirized. Hell, conservatism should be satirized. Alright? You should be able to be satirical about everything. Everything. Rape, murder, suicide, fucking gangbangs, racism, fucking the KKK, Nazis. You should be able to make jokes about everything. Comedy should be an open forum to make jokes and make fun of everything in the world. Because without comedy, there's no political satire. I mean, are you aware of what you were saying? Are you aware of the world that you want? Well, who the fuck am I kidding? You don't have even the self-awareness to be aware of the fact that you just made yourself a hypocrite in your own fucking video. Anyway, moving on.
If you have anything to add, please do so in the comments. If you say something shitty in the comments, I'll delete it. I don't care.
Well, I was going to end the video back on that other little clip, but this one right here I just had to add in for the irony of the situation. Oh, if you say something shitty in the comments, I'll delete it. AKA, if you say something punching a hole in any of my arguments, I'm going to get rid of it because I don't want to hear it. Sorry. You can get rid of those comments all you want. It doesn't change the fact that there are holes in your arguments. But anyway, that'll just about do it for this video. I will be back on Thursday with a possibly another response video because, quite frankly, this cunt has another fucking video up on his YouTube channel that I kind of feel the need to pigeonhole as much as possible. Anyway, I will see you guys maybe then with that video, or maybe later in the week. It depends on how long it takes me to edit it. Hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, and or night. I will see you later, and I'm going to get some heart medication because I think I might be having a heart attack. God, this cunt is fucking stupid.